I want to ask you right now a question that is perhaps the only question that matters, a question that goes far beyond any political, economic, or personal problem you think you have. Is it truly possible to bring about a total radical mutation in the very nature of what is? I'm not speaking of what is out there, the corrupt government, the failing economy, the polluted environment, but rather what is in here, inside the human mind, inside your mind. Can we, you and I, bring about a complete revolution in the very consciousness that creates the world we see? To even begin to go into this, to truly explore this question of a total revolution in what to is, you and I must have or cultivate an extraordinary sense of awareness. Do you know what it means to be aware? I don't mean the simple casual awareness of the objects in your room, or the trees outside your window, or the blue sky peeking through the leaves. I mean an awareness that is total, an awareness that sees the hills beyond, but also sees the observer, the one who is seeing, the one who is naming, judging, and separating. We have been saying for a very long time, and I must say it again, that it is extraordinarily important, perhaps it's the only importance, to bring about a radical revolution in the human mind. The crises, and there are always crises in the world, they seem to be our constant companion, but the crisis now, the one we are all feeling, whether we admit it or not, it seems to me, and I put this to you to consider, is a crisis in consciousness itself. It is a crisis that cannot anymore accept the old norms, the old worn out patterns, the ancient hollow traditions. We are in a state of crisis because a particular way of life, whether we call it the American way or the European way or the Asiatic way, has fundamentally failed to bring about peace or love or freedom in the human heart. And considering what the world is now, when you look at it clearly, with all the appalling misery, the constant conflict between people, between ideologies, the destructive brutality we inflict on one another, the simmering aggression in our hearts. When you see this, and at the same time you see the tremendous, almost magical advancement in our technology, our ability to control the external world, it must be clear. It seems to me that though human beings have cultivated the external world and have more or less mastered it, we can fly, we can build skyscrapers, we can communicate instantly across the globe, we can even create artificial intelligence inwardly. We are still as we were perhaps thousands of years ago. Inwardly, I see, and I ask you to see it in yourself, that there is still a great deal of the animal in us. We are still, under the thin veneer of civilization, brutal. We are still violent, aggressive, deeply acquisitive, and profoundly competitive. And because this is what we have built a society, a global structure, precisely along these very lines. Our economic systems are built on acquisitiveness and competition, our political systems on aggression and tribal division, our social hierarchies on the brutality of power. And now we have filled this structure with technology that simply magnifies our own inward state. We use our instant communication not to understand, but to amplify our aggression in the comment section, to sharpen our tribal divisions. We use our advanced production not to end misery, but to fuel our endless, anxious acquisition of things we do not need, which we call consumerism. We have built this is what is, and we are trapped in it. So I look at what is happening not just in one country, but across the globe, and I ask you, what is happening to all of us? With the automation, with the electronic brains, with the coming of artificial intelligence that can replicate human thought, with the whole setup, what is happening to the human mind, and where are we all going? Do you understand the depth of this question? We are creating machines to think for us, but we have never learned how to think or how to end thought. We are creating systems to give us more leisure, but we are more anxious, more distracted, and more inwardly empty than ever. Where is the whole movement of modern life taking the human being? Perhaps you'll say, as some do, yes, but an increasing number of people are beginning to ask themselves questions. They are looking for alternative forms of human behavior. This is what one hears. People are exploring spirituality, mindfulness, new ideologies, new communities. But I ask, what do they do really? Because by the time most people ask these fundamental questions, after all the searching, the reading, the workshops, and all the rest of it, they are almost finished. They are ready for the grave. They have spent their vital energy, their youth, their passion in conforming to the old pattern, and only when the body is weak and the mind is tired do they begin to ask, what is it all about? And this is seen as a profound, mature inquiry, but I see it as one of the great human tragedies. They have no energy left to find out, only to form new, comfortable conclusions. And this phenomenon is not isolated in Europe. It is the same as it is in America, more or less. The production may be more, the ideology is slightly different, but the inward state is identical. In Germany, in Russia, in China, in Japan, in the whole of Asia, India included, everywhere, the same mechanical, technological, competitive drive is pushing humanity. So I ask you to take all these parts, put them all together in your mind, America, Europe, Asia, and look at it as one single human movement. Where is it all moving? It is moving towards more efficiency, more power, more pleasure, more technological control, and more inward conflict, more sorrow, more emptiness, and the ever-present threat of total self-destruction. This is the path we are on, and we are accelerating. So, what we are concerned with, therefore, is the understanding of the whole process of life, with all its staggering complexity, with its aggressions and profound miseries, with its sorrows and constant confusions. To understand this vast field of life, which is a constant churning movement, it must be clear that one must not only hear the words, but also go far beyond the words. I'm using words now, but what I'm trying to convey, what I'm asking you to see, is not the words themselves, because the words, the explanations, the doctrines, the theories, they are not the facts. Most of us, and I ask you to observe this in yourself, are caught in words. We are prisoners of the symbols. We live in a world of descriptions, not in the world of the actual. We have an experience of love, of fear, of beauty and thought immediately captures it, names it, files it away, and what remains is not the living experience, but the dead memory, the word. We have become so accustomed to this that we have built our very identities from these words. You say, I am an American, I am a Christian, I am an atheist, I am a progressive, I am a conservative, and you are prepared to fight and die for these labels, these words, which are nothing but conclusions stored in memory. You are so busy defending the description that you have never once looked at the thing itself. We live in a world of hot takes, of instant opinions, where the explanation of the event is considered more important than the fact of the event. We are caught, and to be free to look, to really look at what is, one must be free of the word, free of the symbol, free of the idea, free of the conclusion. Then, and only then, can one truly look, and then perhaps one can listen. And that act of listening, I tell you, is really a miracle. Perhaps it is the greatest miracle of all, when one can listen totally with one's whole being, without any defense, without any barrier. What does it mean to listen without agreeing or disagreeing? You are listening to me now. Are you agreeing? Are you disagreeing? Are you comparing what I am saying to what you already know, to what some other book or teacher has said? Are you translating my words into your own particular terminology? If you are doing any of these things, I am afraid you are not listening. You are merely hearing. One hears a lot of words, and I assure you, hearing many words is not listening. It is like a noise among the leaves. It's a disturbance, a vibration, and it soon passes away. This is our tragedy. We have become masters of hearing, but we have forgotten how to listen. When we hear, our mind immediately springs into action. We either accept what is said, which means we are only listening to what we already believe, or we reject it, which means we are defending what we already believe. We translate what we hear according to our knowledge, our background, our conditioning, or we compare what is being said to what is already known, or we oppose one idea with another idea. All these characteristics of hearing, this constant, restless, defensive activity of the mind, denies the act of listening. The act of listening is entirely different. It is a state I cannot give you, but I can point to it. When one truly listens, there is no comparison, there is no acceptance or rejection. The quality of listening is attention. And when you attend totally, not just with your intellect, but with your whole mind, with your heart, with your nerves, with your eyes and ears completely, in that state of total attention, there is the act of listening. And I suggest you find out what happens. Because that act of listening, that state of complete attention, by its own action, puts away anything that is not true. It burns away the false. You don't have to do anything. The attention itself is the flame. When you give your whole attention to something, that is, when you are completely listening, you listen to the totality of the thing. When you so intensely listen, you are listening not just to my words, but you are listening to the birds outside, to the wind, to the breeze among the leaves. You listen to the slightest whisper that is about you. Your awareness has no center and therefore no border. So, in the same way, when one listens to oneself or to another, that very act of listening brings about a total attention in which you see the totality, the whole significance and structure of what is being said. But what happens when I say this? The mind immediately says, I can't. The moment you say, I can't do that, that is too difficult, you have blocked yourself. You have shut the door. Look, sir, look. If I say there is no God, I have blocked myself, haven't I? I have stated a conclusion. And from that conclusion, I can no longer inquire. My mind is closed. Or if I say there is God, I have also blocked myself. I am now a believer, and a believer is just as closed as a non-believer. Both have stopped inquiring. Both are living with a conclusion, a word, a symbol. But if I say, I really don't know, let's find out, then I have the energy to go into it, don't I? The mind is free, it is curious, it is alive, it is passionate to discover. Now, so don't let's say yes or no, don't let's take sides about it. This is not a debate. This is an inquiry into what is. Now, how would you see the totality of something, the totality of your life? How would you get a grasp of it, a feeling of it, a smell of it? The immediate habitual response is, well, as I said, by trying to take more and more of it and understand more and more of it piece by piece, I will analyze my childhood, then my relationships, then my career. I will use time. And my response to that is, you have no time. That is the fundamental problem. You think you can find truth or freedom or peace gradually through time by adding up knowledge day by day. But you are your confusion now. You are your sorrow now. And you cannot understand what is tomorrow. Tomorrow is just an idea in your mind. This is what I said at the beginning. If I take time, it will be impossible. You have approached this problem, as we all do, with the habitual tools of thought, the tool of analysis, the tool of time, the tool of becoming. And I am asking you to see that these tools will not answer, not because I am prejudiced against them, but because you can see for yourself that they do not answer. They have not brought peace to the world or to your heart. Now, when you have eliminated them, not because I told you to, but because you see they are false, your mind is sharper, isn't it? You have eliminated the false, and therefore you have more energy, you are more acute. This is why, when one asks what significance hope and faith have to living, I must say, and I hope you won't think me harsh, that there is no significance at all. We have had hope, we have had faith for millennia. We have had faith in the church, faith in politics, faith in leaders, faith in gurus, faith in our saviors, because we have wanted to achieve a state of bliss, of happiness, of security, of certainty. And hope has been the fuel that nourishes this faith, allowing us to endure the misery of our present. And when one observes through history, through our own lives, all that hope and faith, one sees they have no meaning at all. Because what is important, what is the only thing that is real, is what we are, actually what we are. Not what we think we are or what some book tells us we should be, but actually what is. If we know how to look at what is our greed, our violence, our fear, our profound loneliness, if we can look at it with that total defenseless listening, that will bring about a tremendous transformation. So I ask you, When you look at the world around you, perhaps in a place like America or even California, which has long prided itself on being on the cutting edge of human development, would you say there is something genuinely new stirring? Or, if you are really honest, do you see the same old patterns being repeated, just with different clothes, different technologies, and a different vocabulary? We look at a place like Silicon Valley, which is presented as the birthplace of the new, but what has it produced? It has produced new ways to be acquisitive, new ways to be competitive, new ways to be tribal, and new, incredibly efficient ways to be distracted from ourselves. The technology is new, but the human consciousness driving it, the consciousness that is you, is the same. We are the product of the society in which we live. We are the result of all the accumulated experience, the knowledge, the prejudices, the fears, and the hopes of our particular culture. We have, and so there is nothing original in us. We repeat, repeat, repeat. The progressive merely repeats a new pattern of rebellion, which is a reaction against the old, while the conservative repeats the pattern of clinging to the old, and both are caught in the same mechanical, dualistic movement of thought. To find out anything new, to have a mind that is truly fresh, young, and original, requires a tremendous penetrating inquiry and meditation. And when I use the word meditation, I do not mean your systems of sitting, breathing, or chanting, which are just more forms of repetition and control. I mean an inquiry that is a constant moment to moment awareness, a meditation that happens as you walk, as you talk, as you work. But we don't do this, do we? You do work very hard, I know. You work tremendously hard to earn a livelihood, to go to the office every day, to build a career, to support a family. We give the best energies of our life to this. But this inward work, this inquiry into what is, requires a much greater energy. It requires much more alertness, much more careful, delicate examination, and one is simply not, one doesn't have the energy, the patience, or even the interest for it. Why? Because this is entirely non-profitable. It doesn't bring you any profit, financial, social, or psychological. It doesn't get you a better job. It doesn't make you more popular. It doesn't give your ego the satisfaction of achieving enlightenment. In fact, it will likely take away all the comfortable, false things your ego lives on. And because the mind is only trained to seek profit, pleasure, and security, it turns away from the one thing that actually matters. So here is the problem, the one we all face. I suffer psychologically. You suffer. You're lonely. You're afraid. You're anxious. You're confused. You're in despair. And I can do something physically. If I have a physical pain, I can go to a doctor. But psychologically, I don't know what to do. And not knowing what to do, I have only a few options, all of which are escapes. I escape into amusement, into drugs, into endless entertainment, into the digital sea of distraction. Or I go to somebody who will tell me what to do, the priest, the psychologist, the self-help guru, the political leader, the Zen master in the book. Each one offers a system, a method, a set of answers. Or, most commonly, I just put up with it. I get more and more bitter, dull, stupid, full of animosity, building a callous shell around my sorrow. Without doing any of those things, any of them, can one look at that thing, that suffering, that loneliness, that fear? Can I look at it? Can you look at it without any demand to overcome it, to justify it, or to control it? Can you just observe it as you would observe a cloud in the sky, without judgment, without the word? But the moment this question is asked, what am I to do with myself? There is always someone there, isn't there? Whether it's the advertising man on television or on your social media feed, or the Zen master, or the politician, or the influencer, there is always someone ready to give you a set of answers. And so somebody follows them, and what happens? Nothing, nothing fundamental ever happens. Because, as you can see, there is nothing in this culture that we are talking about, this culture we have built, that prompts people to listen, to really come into relation with themselves in a tough-minded, honest way. This culture is designed to do the opposite. It is designed to tell you who you are, what to want, and what to do, so you never have to face the terrifying emptiness of not knowing, which is the only beginning of wisdom. And so, inevitably, the question arises, how is it possible to do what you say even for a few seconds? And I must tell you, that word how is the most mischievous, the most destructive word in this inquiry. You know, you are asking for a method, a technique, a roadmap. You want somebody else to tell you how to do it, which means you are right back to seeking an authority, which means you have already stopped listening, you have already stopped looking. You want a system to practice, a guarantee of a result. And so you are back in the world of profit and loss, of achievement and time. You are asking, how can I, the confused mind, practice a method to become an unconfused mind? Don't you see the absurdity? The method is created by the confused mind, so it will only lead to more, perhaps more organized confusion. When you ask how, you are asking to avoid the very state I am pointing to. You don't want to look at your suffering, you want a technique to get rid of it. But the how is the escape. So I say, do it. Do it for a second, just look. But the mind protests. We have to be willing to continue to suffer. No, sir. We suffer. That is the fact. It is not a question of being willing to suffer that implies a choice, a heroic martyrdom. There is no choice. There is only suffering. There is fear. There is loneliness. There is confusion. And we are asking, can you look at it and remain with it, be quiet with it? Neither accepting nor rejecting, not saying this is good or this is bad, not naming it, just be quiet with it. Can you observe your loneliness without the word loneliness and all the images and memories that word carries? Can you just observe the fact of that sensation, that energy, without the mind interfering? And then, of course, the mind interjects again. Doesn't this require extensive meditation? Please, put that aside. Don't create another ideal, another how. Just do it. If one does it, if you look at your fear or your sorrow for 1 second without moving away from it, you will find that you derive from that very observation a great and immense energy. Why? Because you are not dissipating any energy. All our energy is spent in escaping, in controlling, in justifying, in fighting what is. When you stop that fight, all that energy is available. It is there. And that energy is attention. It is the new. So we see the psychological confusion, the suffering, and the escape. And what happens when we are really faced with a problem, a vital, global problem like war or famine or death or abject poverty? You and I cannot argumentatively discuss them. Can we? We cannot sit back and have theories about starvation when people are dying. One has to deal with them. One has to put one's teeth into them. And you cannot artificially, intellectually have teeth to put into problems that are vital. So I hope as we go into these questions, they will not be merely intellectual or curious, but serious enough for us to investigate for ourselves what lies behind them and their true import. Let us take a problem like hunger. What is the problem? It is hunger, the lack of clothes, the lack of shelter, all that. Now, how is it going to be solved? It is very clear it will not be solved by a particular nation. As you and I can't solve it if we went to India, no sovereign government is going to solve this, no Indian government is going to solve it. They can pretend, and they do, with their 5-year plans and their political promises, but the problem remains. So, what is preventing the solution of this problem? The technological means exist. Science has, or is very near to, having the means of giving food, clothes, and shelter to practically everybody on earth. Yet it is not being done. Why? Because you are a British, I am an Indian, or you are an American, or a Russian, or a Chinese. It is being prevented because of nationalism, my flag, my country, your country, and the division that takes place geographically, which is then exploited by the politician, by the priest, by the corporations to build their own little empires. That is the factor, one of the major factors preventing the solution of starvation, of feeding the people. It is a world problem, you see, not an individual or nationalistic problem. And so the mind immediately asks, all right, but how do you suppose that we overcome these nationalistic barriers? And the answer to that is not to create another global political system, which would just be a bigger, more powerful form of nationalism. First, one has to be free of it oneself. One has to be free of the tribe, of the flag, of the belief. You must see in your own heart that you are neither American nor Indian nor Russian, but a human being. And then, perhaps, you can get up and talk, shout, do anything for the major issues, not for the little things. Then perhaps you will sow some seed that will take root. This is the same with war. We have accepted war as the way of life. All of humankind has throughout centuries. We dress it up, we give medals for it, we create noble ideologies to justify the organized murder of other human beings. And to stop war, if one is truly concerned with the whole process of living as a human being, not as a member of a group, then perhaps we will be able to solve this question. But this means seeing that the root of war is in me. It is in my division, my aggression, my desire for security, my identification with the tribe, the group, the nation, the belief, without ending that in myself. How can I demand peace in the world? I am the world, and the world is me. This leads to a question that is often asked, especially in affluent societies where the basic needs are met. Potentially, one says our society has solved the problem of food, clothing, and shelter. Once you've solved those problems, what else is there to look for? Do you mean what is beyond these three? Sir, what is a human being seeking basically? In a poor country, he is seeking these three because these are absolute necessities, whether in California, India, or Russia. And so the affluent mind says, after satisfying that, let's seek something else. Let's go after something else. But I ask you, is that the way to begin? Is it bread first, and then the other, then God, then truth, then love? Or is it the other first and bread afterwards? Because what I see happening is that in getting bread, we get lost. We get superficial, we get caught in the trap of endless amusement, of entertainment, of superficial religiosity, all that. Our search for something more is just another form of consumption, a psychological consumerism. But if we were seeking, or rather, if we were after something more than bread and butter, and in that more the bread and butter were included, then I think this problem would never arise. If the primary question was to understand the whole of life, to find a way of living that is sane, intelligent, and loving, we would organize the bread and butter, the economics of our survival, in a way that is sane, intelligent, and loving, which would mean for everybody, not just for our tribe. So, what we are trying in all these discussions and talks is to see if we cannot radically bring about a transformation of the mind, not to accept things as they are, which is what most of us do. We just grow dull and cynical, nor to revolt against them, which is just the other side of the same coin, a reaction that creates its own new set of problems, its own new tyrannies. Revolt doesn't answer a thing, but to understand it, to go into it, to examine it, to give your heart and your mind with everything that you have, to find out a way of living differently. But that, you see, depends on you and not on somebody else. Because in this deep fundamental inquiry, there is no teacher, there is no pupil, there is no leader, there is no guru, there is no master, no savior. The moment you follow someone, you have stopped listening to yourself, you have stopped looking. You have given your authority, your responsibility, your own life over to another. And that other is just as confused, as conditioned as you are. You yourself are the teacher and the pupil, you are the master, you are the guru, you are the leader, you are everything. And to understand is to transform what is